Alright, hey everybody, I'm back, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do first for this lovely frost giant slash American Indian lady. I should name her. I'll think about what to name her. If you have any suggestions as to what I should name her, let me know in the comments. So this is totally aiming towards new people learning how to paint. Like I said in my last video, I'm about as newbie as it gets, and there are a billion other videos that are super professional and you can learn way more with them. But, you know, this is pretty raw basic stuff, and I'm just showing you what I do. So, as you can see, my husband has quite the collection of paint. I have everything my heart could desire to use. But what you have to know about model paint is that there's different brands. And little side note, nobody has paid me for any of this. I'm not doing any freaking... This is not a promotion for anything. I'm only telling you what I use and what I like. Now, I personally go by color and not brand always. I mix them all up. Now, there are some people that are, you know, strictly Citadel, strictly Vallejo, strictly Speed Paint, blah, 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 blah. But it just really depends on what you want to do and where you're aiming at. I personally like Citadel because I really enjoy the range of paint that they offer. They start with like base layer paint, which is kind of thick. It's like a thick layer paint. It's not transparent at all, or see-through. If you don't know what transparent means, it's not see-through. Trying to appeal to everybody here. So this row down here is all layer. It's called layer paint. So they're all like. And kudos to the guy who has the job to name all these. They're hilarious names, but so this says layer. It says layer Kislev flesh, so it's like a white dude flesh tone, right? Then you have base mechanics standard gray. Now base and layer are pretty much synonymous. They're pretty thick, right? Layer Fenrisian gray. So it's going to say layer, or it's going to say base, right? Then the first three levels here of my husband's paint collection are all base and layer paints. Okay. The fourth row here is called contrast paint, and you've probably, if you've spent 2 seconds watching miniature videos, you'll hear the term contrast paint. And what that is, at least in Citadel brand, it is a thinner, more translucent, transparent paint. And then at the top, bink, is shade paint. And if you've ever heard of Nuln oil, that's what that is. And it's just a very, 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 very thin, watery paint that is good for getting in the nooks and crannies of your model. And you'll see as we go, because I will use all three. Okay, so mentioning in the last video, what I did was I took my model and I primed it. Now, a lot of these models are already primed, okay? And they come pre-primed. Here's a D&D Human Wizard. And it says it's primed, it's ready to go, okay? Now, any painter worth his weight in whatever will know that it's probably best to prime this again black, because unless you want really light crevices, if you don't want any kind of shadow and little edit from the last video. It was called Grim Dark is what I was trying to think of, not Grimace. Isn't that the McDonald's guy? You want to start off darker. You could do gray, you could do like a dark brown or something. I prefer black, but this is, it says it's primed because if you don't prime an unprimed mini, the paint's not going to stick very well. So what you want to do is out of the box, you want to prime it. And that's why I used this Easy App Surface Primer. And then after that one, I covered it. I wanted it to go even darker, and I covered it with the Vallejo black here. Then, if you saw the last video, I took the Vallejo white base paint and I dry brushed the model, because if I just left it black, you're not going to see all of the other, you know, contrast paints that I might put on there. It kind of makes it more dynamic and more interesting, right? So what you can do is you can go online and find swatches of color. You can find like a color, oh, what is it called? Kind of a, like, you know, a family of color that would go well with this. So, you know, like the complementary colors that go with the base color that you want to pick. Now for this, I'm going to do like a brown kind of theme, because I told you I wanted to make her kind of like an American Indian. So I'll probably do her pants brown, probably do her, you know, boots black or brown, so on and so forth. But this is like an armor right here, and I'll show you my favorite color for armor. And here's some like fancy plates here. I'll probably make those kind of like a bronzy gold color. Then you have fur, of course, and then you have, you know, the spear, and then you have a, you know, leather arrow cover, and then you have her cloak. So I already know that I want her to be brown, a lot of brown. So the largest surface area on this is her cloak back here. So I think I'm going to start that first. So what I'm going to use is a contrast color. So because it's a pretty big surface, and I want these dark crevices to stay dark. I don't want to put like a lime green. I don't want to put this lime green right in here, because it's not going to be dark anymore. It's going to be maybe a darker lime green, but it's going to be pretty obvious. So I'm gonna start thin, because you can put layers of thin on top of this stuff. So the key is to shake the crap out of this stuff. Gotta really shake it. And there's shakers out there on the market, but this one right here is free. So you can put ball bearings in your paint to help the matter, but so I'm gonna pick a bigger brush here, because this is a pretty big surface area. All right, so whoop, lost my phone there. I'm gonna zoom in here a little bit and fix this a little bit. All right, much better. Ooh, that's much better. Okay, so I'm gonna dip my brush into the well here and just kind of throw it on there, man. Just when in doubt, slap it on there. Now just kind of be careful so you don't go too crazy. You don't want to get it on stuff that you don't want brown, obviously. You're just kind of go for it. When in doubt, you can always go over it or strip it off and start anew. I just started a video a minute ago on how to strip a mini. That'll be up on my channel here shortly. But this is pretty basic. Alright, so since this is thin paint, this is very thin paint, as you can see, This is very watery, right? It's contrast paint, so it's going to be much thinner. As you can see a lot of the black underneath the brown. Okay? And you can see a lot of the... I mean, if this was flat paint, it would just be the same tone of brown across the whole thing. But since I primed it and dry brushed it, it's got kind of a dark brown here. It's got a light brown right here and a lighter brown here. And it's just way more interesting, okay? The cool thing about painting minis is that it's very like instant gratification if you do it right. If you do it right. Now the light is such where I'm getting a lot of glare, but you're getting the idea, right? I hope. I gotta start looking at the camera, what the camera sees versus looking just at the model, because I'm losing it off the frame. Whoops, sorry. Alright. Well, it looks brown to me. Now don't forget the underneath bits. There's all kinds of stuff down there you don't want to miss. It's always the stuff that you don't see that makes it a really good mini. If you really look at a mini, turn it upside down, see how that looks. Alright, so it looks pretty cool. I like it. She's going to be super dark. And now I'm going to do the front. Now obviously, you can do whatever you want. I'm just showing you what I do. I know I say that all the time, but this is a very subjective hobby. You can go crazy with the options of how to paint something. Different colors, different tools, different everything. This is just how I'm doing it. And then this bit between our legs here is also her cloak. Like I said, you gotta really get in the bits that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. Just, you know, you gotta get, there's a lot here that you could potentially miss. So you gotta make sure you get in there. And once this dries, you can go over it again, you know. You can put as many layers as you want, just don't go too thick. Always go thin. Thin is best. Now one of the tools that is helpful is a mini stand. This thing right here. So what you want to do is, let me zoom out here. Boop. Alright, so this is very handy. Now, this is going to get in the way because this is a much bigger model. Let me pop this off. So you can get this, I call it ticky tack. I think it's called poster putty. I don't know what you call it, but you can get it at the dollar store. It's very cheap. And you just kind of stretch it out and then stick it on top. And then stick this on top of that. That way, this thing spins, right? And you can kind of not have to hold the base. This is a little heavy for this actually, but it's not bad. At least you can have something to, like, if I have my brush here, I can rest my hand against my thumb and then do this. This, if this was a smaller mini here, actually it's not bad actually. This is for where you would rest this bit against your finger here, and then you can rest your pinky and then steadily, you know, get in the really tight spots, or, you know, the eyes, which are like the hardest bits, right? So this is very helpful, but I think this is a little big for this. So, but it is very helpful, especially for this little guy. Now, if you don't want to spend the money on this, pill bottle is perfect. You can hold it just like the other one. So, remember Tub the Dwarven Cook Baker? I'm gonna do him too in a different video. So, the worst part about painting a mini is you gotta wait for it to dry. You gotta wait for the layers to dry. Okay. So there are different paints that will dry shiny. Typically people go with the matte, like a lot of them dry, you know, flat, so it's not going to look shiny like it is right now. It's only looks shiny right now because it's wet, but that's what you do to start. And then I'm gonna leave that there. Then what I could do is pick a different color and start in on a different part of her outfit. But that would be an incredibly long video. But right now we're just gonna let this dry. So yeah, so that's our first part of painting her. So keep tuned, stay tuned if you want to watch me continue painting my frost giant / Indian girl, American Indian girl. And I'll see you next time.